Quit the 9 to 5 with Ben Handler, getting you out of the rat race and into a career buying property.
Well, good everyone. How you going? It's Phil Tarrant here, and I'm here with something which is very new. It's a fresh new podcast we're creating for the Smart Property Investment Network, and there's a story behind it, and I'll share that with you as we navigate our way through it. Before I give the title away too quickly and the reason for it, by way of background, we've been running now the Smart Property Investment Show for a number of years, and we've had investors with massive portfolios on there. We have investors with one portfolio. We have investors who have entered the market and failed and are looking to get back in there. And we have first-time buyers who are looking to crack the market. But a common theme typically appears whenever I speak to investors, and the journey we've had on the Smart Property Investment Show is that the love of passion for property often turns into a career for many people, and that career being buyers agencies. There's many stories of guests that have appeared on the Smart Property Investment Show who've gone on to create their own small business, being a advisor, advocate for other property investors to support them buy property as their buyer's agent. At the Smart Property Investment Show and at smartpropertyinvestment.com.au, we've been firmly behind the growth of the buyer's agent sectors for many years. Every property I've ever bought, I've always used a buyer's agent. I see the value, I see the resources they provide to help me be a better property investor. So we've been right behind it, and more and more Australians today are choosing to purchase investment property through a buyer's agent. The interesting part of all this is that up until now, there hasn't been any real central location where people who are interested in becoming a buyer's agent to go and learn about the profession, learn about how you get into that profession, and then all the important stuff you need to do in order to provide those services for your clients. It can be a hard career to move into. There's many different moving parts, as well as being able to be a very good buyer's agent, which includes all the rigor around researching markets, understanding markets, and then the negotiation of property for your clients and all the other components of being a buyer's agent. There's another very important part of the equation, that is, how do you find people to be buyer's agents for? So it's the sales side of things. So a lot of people often forget that that is a big part of being a buyer's agent. You can be the best buyer's agent in the world, but if you can't find people to be buyer's agents for, it can have its own challenges. So what we've done at the Smart Property Investment Show, we've joined forces with Ben Handler, who is one of Australia's most accomplished buyer's agents, who has now transitioned into creating something called the Buyer's Agent Institute to support all Australians who have a love of property to realise their career ambitions, and that is if they want to become a buyer's agent. So we've joined forces with Ben, and we've created a new show. It's called Quit the 9 to 5 by Ben Handler, How to Turn Buying Property into Career. And I have him in the studio. Ben, how are you going?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks, Phil.
That was a very long-winded preamble to where we are, but I'm really excited about this, Ben. It feels like nearly every single person I get on the Smart Property Investment Show now want to become a buyer's agent at some point, and they see that as part of the journey. So this particular podcast, for our listeners out there, we're helping people escape the 9 to 5 rat race by turning buying property into a career. So essentially this podcast, all about helping people turn buying into a fun, flexible and lucrative career. Ben Handler, in his early 20s, he left the corporate world and built Australia's largest property buyers agency from scratch, purchasing over $3 billion worth of property. And that's billing with a B, not an M. So you're pretty accomplished at this buyers agency game. So why have you decided to go and create the Buyers Agent Institute?
I just feel that there's a massive untapped market for people to jump into where they can start really monetizing their passion of property through buying property on behalf of people. And it's an industry that's about to, in my opinion, explode. It's going to get very busy. So I'm here to really educate people so they can really get out of, unfulfilling careers that they may be in and explore this opportunity of becoming a buyer's agent.
And we find with people, Ben, and we'll chat about this offline, who look at the opportunities of becoming a buyer's agent, and it is going into business for yourself pretty much, or it's joining a established buyer's agent. But when you look at the DNA of people who go down this path, they typically have a passion for property. They're looking for a new challenge in their career. They might be a bit unfulfilled with what they're doing right now, and they want something different, or they want to take control of their own future. They're sort of excited about monetizing, buying property on behalf of other people. So you can only buy so many properties for yourself, but you see people get that bug. All they want to do is they work out what the secret sauce is to become very good at buying property, so they want to do it for other people. And interestingly with this market as well, Ben, and you could probably give us some info on it, it's not really age restrictive. It's really for anyone who's sort of from 21 to 60 can really get into this. It's not one of those professions which has age limitations or restrictions. So I can see why it's so attractive for Australians to go down this path. The Buyers Agent Institute, how long has it been running for now?
Been running now for around 8 months, and Yeah, it's going very well. And as you were just describing regarding age groups, I've got people from 20 years old through to 65 enrolled into the platform at the moment.
Okay, so that's a good spread. Is it hard to become a buyer's agent?
Personally, I don't think so. I think the fact that it doesn't matter what your professional background is. So it doesn't matter if you went to college or university or whatever you did and whether you were successful or not, you can really accelerate in this career because there is a limited amount of competition right now. So if you wanted to hypothetically become a real estate agent, there's a lot of competition. So for you to really accelerate quick, it's going to take you a long time. However, on this side of the fence as a buyer's agent, there's not a lot of competition yet. So the ability for you to start earning really high commission and start really accelerating forward in your career, it's really opportunistic.
And you find from your experience, it's typically people with a love affair of property investors who most often become buyer's agent. Is that normally the cycle that people go through?
Yeah, correct. Typically people really, really like property.
And I imagine they need to, right? Because you're dealing with it every single day.
Yeah, and it gets a bit hard if you don't because there's a lot of emotion and you don't want this to feel like a job. So if you are passionate about property, this career does not feel like you're working. You wake up every day, you're buying property and you love it, and you can just go 7 days. It's awesome.
So this is the first episode. So it's the first of 12 monthly episodes we're going to be doing on Quit the 9 to 5 by Ben Handler. This episode, I just very much want to talk about the market, get a little bit of an understanding of the DNA of people who become buyer's agents, and we're going down that path right now, and we'll touch on that again in a moment. But moving forward, what we're going to do, Ben, is that we're going to bring people into the studio who have made that transition from property investor to buyer's agent and get them to share their story, their journey, what they love about their job and or their career, what frustrates them, where the challenges are about getting started in this particular industry, what's the traps to avoid, what's the secrets to make it work and move quickly, and also importantly what we spoke about, how do you go about finding people to do this particular job for, because it is a service. You are a trusted advisor, and a lot of people start within their own network, but then you need to look at scaling your business moving forward. So that's pretty much the thrust and theme that we're going to focus on over the next 11 episodes. So for right now, let's have a quick look at the buyer's agency sector. I've actually got our team here running up some numbers, and it is a relatively new industry. There's not a lot of benchmark numbers around it. I can't tell at the moment how many investment properties in Australia have been secured by a buyer's agent, and I think it's a big opportunity for the industry moving forward to actually understand some of those market dynamics. All I am is confident that in the future, I think more and more investment properties and also owner-occupied properties will be secured by buyer's agents. So maybe it's a good idea, Ben, for you to just explain what a buyer's agent does.
So very simply, a buyer's agent represents a buyer when buying property, whether it's for investment or owner-occupier purposes. The buyer's agent is independently engaged by that buyer to meet their objectives to buy that property. So the buyer pays the buyer's agent a fee to do so.
The fee that a buyer's agent receives can be structured in a number of different ways. Is that correct?
Correct. So typically it's a percentage of the purchase price, or it can be a fixed price. However, we also take a retainer up front when we sign up a client. So the cash flow is very dynamic. You're getting a retainer up front, and then we get paid on exchange. Real estate agents get paid on settlement. So it does move pretty quick.
When you look at the market today, and we're chatting about this becoming a bigger industry sector, what do you feel are the drivers behind more and more Australians turning to buyer's agents to support them buy an investment property or owner-occupied property?
I mean, my perspective on this is around technology. I feel like the way the world's moving, there's a lot of efficiency happening in people's lives. So transportation with Uber, you want to get food delivery, you can get Deliveroo. However, looking to buy property is very, very monotonous. It has not changed in so many years. You've got to leave work on Wednesday or Thursday to look at a property. On Saturday, you've got to do the same, leave your family or take your family and go look at property. And so to go through that process, I believe, is very challenging for people now because they're getting a lot of efficiency in other areas of their life. So people are looking now to outsource to a buyer's agent in order to get the job done.
Okay, so using a buyer's agent, one of the reasons why you would do it is that there's time and efficiencies and it frees up people from their busy schedules. What would be the other 2 or 3 main reasons why someone would use a buyer's agent?
Yeah, a lot of reasons we hear is sometimes the brief is as simple as this: I'm sick of dealing with real estate agents. So the client will come see us and they'll say, I don't want to talk to a real estate agent ever again. Can you just manage that process for us? So that's a huge one as well. Another big one is off-market properties and pre-market properties. So as a buyer's agent, you are hustling all day, every day to find good stock for your clients. And that means you're on the phone to real estate agents all day, finding good stock. And so the ability for you to find different style of stock that's not on real estate and domain is a lot more promising than what your client could do. So that's a huge one as well. So access to property.
Okay, and can you run me through what a typical day would be for a buyer's agent? I imagine every day is different depending on what sort of property they're working on or where that is in a particular cycle. But what would a normal day look like?
So every day is typically filled with prospecting. So you're looking to, obviously acquire new clients and build new relationships. So the day is typically structured where, you have obviously face-to-face meetings with business partners that you're looking to get business from. And those business partners typically are mortgage brokers, they're financial planners, they are conveyancers, they're relationship managers from banks, a whole different range of style of people. Also real estate agents. Real estate agents provide a lot of lead gen. So you're getting in front of those style of people regularly throughout your day to build relationships, to nurture existing relationships. And then you're obviously servicing clients. And that means you're going out to inspect properties on behalf of clients. You're meeting your clients to have just, meetings to catch up on how the process is going. So the day is typically structured with meeting business partners to get new clients, searching properties, and, obviously meeting and talking to clients.
So what we're talking about there are these two different parts of being a buyer's agent that I spoke about briefly in my introduction. One is the act of being a buyer's agent, so doing the work of a buyer's agent, finding property, sourcing property, negotiating property. And what we're talking about is the other side of it is finding people to provide that service for. When someone moves into being a buyer's agent, often they have a love affair for property. They love the buying part of property, the research, the inspections, the haggling negotiation with agents. Often they forget about this other very important part, and that is doing the prospecting, as you called it, meeting with people who could potentially be business partners for you. So when you start as a buyer's agent, how much of it is the prospecting, so finding the work, versus doing the work?
A large majority is the prospecting, so filling up your pipeline with clients. And there's got to be that really beautiful organic balance where you are filling up the pipeline and then converting the pipeline. So obviously doing the research, finding the properties and buying the properties for your clients, there's got to be that really happy balance. So filling it up and then clearing it out.
So the Buyer's Agent Institute, it's an e-learning platform. How much of the learning on that platform is geared towards being a really good buyer's agent versus being really good at finding work?
A large majority of the platform is based on finding clients, which I believe is one of the hardest parts of becoming a buyer's agent. If I look at my 9-year career in the buyer's agency world, the reason why I think a lot of people fail is they don't know how to fill the pipeline up. And so I like to go through a very strict and diligent process of how to do that religiously so you can really fill up an overflowing pipeline.
Really happy you said that. That was where it was weighted, because I understand the glamour of being a buyer's agent and going to open inspections and driving around and visiting people and having coffees with real estate agents to get off-market properties. What we're talking about here is running a business. And for a lot of people, the reality of what this profession might look like versus what the dream is might be two very different things. So when you look at what is the DNA of someone who can become a good buyer's agent, what would you say are those 2 or 3 inherent skills that you'd like to see?
Communication's number one. So really strong at communication. I feel like just being able to clearly articulate yourself is a really big one. Then the second skill is learning. I think the ability just to continuously want to learn and become better is another key skill. And the third skill, I think, is really knowing and owning your craft in terms of your education around property. Especially when you're buying for investment, you really need to continuously upskill yourself and really be a master at your knowledge.
And for the people who have gone through the Buyer's Agent Institute now, what sort of career backgrounds have they got?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's been very, very diverse. So I've had people who are plumbers, electricians, in healthcare, construction, technology, a lot of real estate agents actually, especially in southeast Queensland, a lot of real estate agents from top groups. It is so diverse, and a lot of the people as well don't have sales backgrounds. And to touch on, obviously real estate is sales. However, you don't need a real estate background. I didn't come from a sales background when I started this business. So that's another huge advantage of why you can accelerate forward as a buyer's agent.
So just your background. So you were with Cohen Handler for many, many years since its inception, and $3 billion worth of property transacted through that as buyer's agents for owner-occupied clients as well as investor clients. What was your background? How did you end up doing that?
Yeah, so my background initially started in construction at UNSW. I was, doing property and construction. I didn't want to jump into that game, so I wanted to get straight into development. So I worked for a company called Charter Hall, which is a publicly listed property funds management company. So I worked in the development arm of that business. And then I met my business partner of Cohen Handler in Los Angeles at a Halloween party. And we'd both left our respective businesses that we were working at, and we were, investigating and exploring business models. And we realised that around 86% of people in the United States use a buyer's agent. So we looked at Australia and thought, wow, like buyers are so misrepresented. Like they really need help buyers. So we basically went back to Sydney, started in my bedroom, validated the model, signed up a client, and off we went.
So you know what it's like to be in the trenches. You've been there.
Absolutely.
What was the hardest part of that first year for you growing Cohen Handler?
People were very reluctant in that first year to pay a fee to get help to buy property because it wasn't part of the traditional process of buying property. So there was a lot of resistance there. It was a bit like headbutting a brick wall at times. So after around year 2, year 3, it really started to change, which was great. And now it's basically normal.
Now it's basically normal.
Yep.
And I'd like to think us at smartpropertyinvestment.com.au has played part of the role in opening up and shaping people's perceptions towards using a buyer's agent, because as I said beforehand, I get a lot of value out of it. So you guys have done a lot of heavy lifting as in creating a market for this. And I personally believe it's got a long, long way to go as well. And I want to get those numbers around how that market looks right now. But going back to the people who are becoming buyer's agents, that first year that they're in the game trying to build a business around being a buyer's agent, I imagine it's going to be a mix of emotions. Some days are going to be great, some days are probably less so. You need a fair bit of resilience to make it in this game?
Yeah, you do. And, you know, it's a bit like, I say, the roller coaster and a bit like a yo-yo. It's up and down. However, the ability to earn big money is there. So typically, I see people in their first year, whether they're working for a company or themselves, you know, you can earn up to $250,000 gross year one. No sales background. You know, you might not have been successful in your previous career. No real estate background either. So it's pretty phenomenal.
And how do they go about doing that? So they get going, they've got to find the clients, they've got to deliver the work. To be a good buyer's agent, you need to find really good properties. And the owner-occupied has a very different perception towards a good property versus an investor. Is your recommendation that you should choose which particular path you want to concentrate on, whether it's owner-occupied or investors as a buyer's agent?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I suggest to people to try both. So when you're dealing with owner-occupiers, you're dealing with a lot of emotion. When you're dealing with investors, you know, obviously it's black and white, it's very numbers focused. So you've got to, I think, dip your toes in both and see which one you like.
And you'll find a particular bent, if you like, sort of helping families into their dream home versus investors like myself who just look at the cold hard facts and what my return is going to be, depending how you wire it. It might have something to do with your career background as well. You know, if you come from a numbers-based background, you might be more on that side, whereas, you know, more of a caring perspective, you might want to go down the owner-occupied route. You're probably only going to work that out by doing the job, I imagine. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. You've really got to dip your toe in and see which one you like. I mean, personally, for me, I preferred investment. If I showed a particular owner-occupier client a property and the wife walked through and said, I don't want to buy this because the backyard's not facing north, it's facing southeast and I don't want to buy the property, I used to find that a bit annoying and get frustrated. So I prefer dealing with numbers. The conversion time frame from signing up a client to exchange was a lot faster. So I preferred that approach, but I guess it's very individualized.
And in terms of the skills you need to, and you said it, the communication skills is key. So you're dealing with essentially two parties here. One is the vendor or the representative of the vendor, so the person you're buying the property from, and that's negotiation, relationship building skills, people building skills. You know, a good buyer's agent is very apt at becoming the preferred go-to person for a real estate agent, and that requires its own craft, you know, whether that's drinking coffee with them or taking them out for lunch or a couple of beers or whatever, but then it's also dealing with the vendor to make sure that gets done right. On the other side of things, you need to have some pretty good business acumen to be able to know the numbers, to build a business, to go about knowing how much business you need to be putting down the pipeline in order to pay your salary. And imagine for someone who's single versus someone who has a family that's relying on them, the breadwinner, choosing to become a buyer's agent might be a different proposition. Is it a single person's job, or is it it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all. That's good that you said that.
Yeah.
And you've got two choices essentially also. If you want to go down a path of being a buyer's agent, you can choose to join an established company, or you can go out by yourself and create something from scratch. Are you creating, you know, the next generation of buyer's agents for all the very good buyer's agency business out there at the moment? Is that where a lot of your graduates, I guess I'll call them, are going, or are they trying to go down their own path? Yeah,
this is a very fascinating industry sector of real estate where I find like you can start a buyer's agency business with less than $5,000, literally. So you need a website, you need a phone, you need a laptop, you need a car. You don't need a fancy office. You don't need any of that to become a good buyer's agent. So your overheads are very low. So I'm trying to show people and encourage people that they can start their own business and get going very quickly. And in terms of data, I mean, there's around approximately 322 buyer's agents in Australia versus approximately 75,000 real estate agents in the country. So, I'm very much committed to growing that 322 to 4,000 over the next 36 months.
It's a big undertaking.
Big undertaking, yeah.
And not all buyer's agents are created equal. Some buyer's agents will just provide the negotiation for a property, whereas other people would do the whole kit and caboodle and be more like property strategists. So how do you go about sort of understanding the breadth of services that you provide as a buyer's agent? Is that all included in the Buyer's Agent Institute e-learning portal?
Yeah, correct. I take people through a journey where they can start to self-discover through the exercises, like what their skill set is, where they can add value. Because you're right, I mean, some people are maybe good at buying the property versus doing the strategic session up front. Some people might be better at doing the administrative work, initially for that first year, maybe assisting a senior buyer's agent. So you've really got to work out where your skill set lies.
What's the appetite for the buyer's agency businesses out there now to take on new people? Are they all desperate for new staff? Are they all looking to grow their businesses, no doubt?
Yeah, a lot of the buyer's agents businesses that are up and running now are looking to grow because the sector is really starting to emerge from my perspective.
And if you're looking to join an established buyer's agency, what should you be looking for as someone new to this game? What do the best buyer's agents look like now, and why would they be potentially a good employer for them?
I think always leadership is number one. So obviously understanding, who owns the company and how they're also going to support you, because, you're going to be jumping into a company and you want to really learn the ropes, and you typically want to really learn the best practices. So I think if you're looking to, join a company, you really want to make sure you're going to be really well supported. You're not going to be hanging out on your own, because I know in traditional real estate, if you want to become a sales agent, you're on your own. You eat what you kill. So you want to make sure you're going to get the support.
And what sort of remuneration structure would you be looking at if you went and joined an established player as a junior buyer's agent? Would it be a small base salary and some commission, or a finder's fee? How would that work?
Yeah, so typically it varies. So you can go comm only, especially if you come from a real estate background and you've been in the industry for more than 12 months, you can jump straight on comm only. If you don't come from a real estate background and you want to work for a company, typically you are on a salary plus comms. So yeah, that's how it usually works. And
does it normally work also that people will go about sort of learn the craft of someone else and move away and branch out and do their own thing? Or, can you stay to business for as long as you like?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people, especially who have, come through the Institute, they have started their own business and they are just running through and signing clients and doing deals. It's moving quick.
Wow. Do you think, when you look at the current property market, everyone's talking about a softening market moving forward? I was reading a report only yesterday saying that the city market, for example, I think it was Biz Shrapnel, saying that we're going to see 2 to 3 years of property price decline rather than increases. So is it going to be harder to be a buyer's agent in a softening market, or is this when buyer's agents can really come into their skill set?
In 2010, and this will answer the question, we started our business Cohen Handler, and that market was very different to now. You'd put offers in on properties and they'd sit there for 2 weeks. Like, it was a complete buyer's market. So property was very easy to buy. And we saw that clients were experiencing all the same problems. They were time poor. They wanted to outsource. They were sick of dealing with real estate agents. They didn't want to go inspect properties on Saturday. There was too much choice. They didn't know what to do. So irrespective of the market, I think apart from putting interest rates to the side, I think there's always going to be a very strong demand for buyer's agents. If, however, interest rates just skyrocketed and went crazy up, I mean, that's going to have an effect on people borrowing cash. So, yeah, that's a big problem.
Slow down. But what you're saying, though, is that irrespective of market conditions, there's always going to be some sort of need for buyer's agents.
Correct.
Okay, that's really reassuring for people who are looking at this particular industry sector. I just want to go, before we finish up, Ben, I just really want to understand if I'm listening to this podcast going, I've been thinking about becoming a buyer's agent. It sounds like a really good job. My view is that a lot of people think going into business for yourself allows you to get more time for yourself, and it's completely the opposite. Going into business for yourself, it probably is a lot more limited and restricting of your time. Eventually, at some point in time, hopefully, it's going to free you up with a better lifestyle, but it can be hard going into business for yourself. So for those people out there listening going, I want to give this a go. I want to consider it. I want to work out whether I'm right for doing this particular job. Is there anyone I can talk to so I can stress test whether I'm going to be able to make it? How do you do it? Can you match up people with current buyer's agents who have gone and done this course and excelled so they can work out the reality of the world?
Absolutely. I mean, I'd be more than happy to connect people for that conversation so they can get some clarity and understanding around, how it really works. I think that's definitely worthwhile to do. I
think that's really good. And my suggestion would be, a lot of people like the idea of becoming a buyer's agent because they have a love affair of property, but the reality of it can be very different. But, I know, so I'm thinking of someone in particular who is a great example of someone who had a love affair of property, who threw in their day job as what was a pharmaceutical sales trainer that become a trainer for salespeople in pharmaceutical sales. And this particular person's gone out and created one of Australia's most exciting new buyers agencies. And one of the reasons why is that he was a very personal person. He had great communication skills and he knew how to sell. And he's got a particular brand of resilience that has allowed him to excel in this regard. So I've seen people do this and do it very well. And I think the market is big enough for a lot of buyers agents to be out there. So if you want any more information, Ben, around the Buyers Agent Institute, what do they do?
They can visit the website, the buyersagentinstitute.com.au, and they'll get everything there.
Okay, and if they want to get in contact with you guys, they can do it all through there, and
absolutely,
it's all pretty easy. And you're based in Sydney. It's really largely relevant, really, where anyone is. So if I'm in WA or Tasmania or whatever, get in contact.
Yep.
There's no borders. Buyers agency, really, is there?
I've got people in each state across the country enrolled into the course right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good. And on that basis also, you don't need to be in a capital city to be a buyers agent either, do you?
No, I mean, I've got someone right now who works in the rural areas of New South Wales who was a valuer. He started his own business and he's up and running, ready to go, yeah.
It's really great. Well, let's share some of those stories moving forward. This is just the episode 1 of 12 episodes of Quit the 9 to 5 by Ben Handler, how to turn buying property into a career. This will be really good fun, I think, Ben. We'll get some talent in here and get them to share their stories, and I'll leave it to you to make sure that we get people in that don't only tell us the good things. I think
Absolutely.
We need to be really fair with our listeners. And yes, it is an attractive career to look at. And as we've said, many people who listen to the Smart Property Investment Show, their dream is to become a buyer's agent. But I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that we give the warts and all, because it can be very hard as well.
That's right.
So this is every single month we'll be running our new podcast, Quit 9 to 5 by Ben Handler. If you like what we're doing, leave some comments wherever you're listening to this right now. We're happy to share them with the wider community. And remember, if you want any more information on the Buyers Agent Institute, just go to buyersagentinstitute.com.au. Until next month, we'll see you then for episode 2. But that was episode 1, and we hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Quit the 9 to 5 with Ben Handler. For more advice on turning property buying into your career, head to www.buyersagentinstitute.com.au now.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature, does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs, and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property, or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.